Hey everyone, welcome back to another deep dive. You ready to jump into the world of high finance?
Always.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be taking a look at a really interesting conversation with Nicolai Tangen.
Okay.
Now you might be thinking,
Who? Yeah.
exactly. Nicolai Tangen is the CEO of Norges Bank Investment Management,
Okay.
and they just happen to manage the world's largest sovereign wealth fund,
Wow.
a whopping $1.7 trillion.
Trillion with a T.
Trillion with a T.
Oh my goodness.
I can't even imagine the size of those spreadsheets.
I was going to say, forget spreadsheets. Think about like the impact on the daily life of like every Norwegian citizen.
Yeah.
It's like their national piggy bank.
Right.
Constantly updating on their website. Like you can refresh the web page and see your country's wealth change by the second.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And to really get into the nitty-gritty of all of this, we're going straight to the source. We have a transcript from Goldman Sachs Talks,
Okay.
where Tangen was interviewed by none other than David Solomon, who's the CEO of Goldman Sachs. Big names.
Big names. This was recorded on November 4th, 2024.
Ah,
So it's very recent, very
well,
relevant.
very relevant.
Piping hot.
Yeah, piping hot financial tea, as you like to call it.
Exactly. So what I'm really excited to dive into is Tangen's own personal investment philosophy and how he's able to handle the pressure
Yeah.
of managing such a mind-boggling amount of money.
I mean, how do you even wrap your head around that?
Right. And we're also going to get into some of his leadership styles
Right.
and thoughts on some of the biggest global economic trends of our time.
I love it.
So let's jump right in.
Okay.
So Tangen's role with the fund is really to steer this massive ship.
Okay.
They hold about 1.4% of all listed companies globally.
So they have a slice of everything.
A slice of everything, every major industry on the planet.
Wow.
It's guided by the fund's mandate, which is set by the Ministry of Finance, and it makes sure that they're taking a very stable and responsible approach to investing.
It sounds like they have a lot of guardrails in place.
They do, to keep them on the straight and narrow.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that is most interesting about Tangen is he seems to have this do the right thing mentality.
Okay.
He really focuses on the process rather than getting lost in the numbers,
Yeah.
which is amazing because the numbers are astronomical.
Yeah, $1 trillion. You can't even fathom it, right?
And he's also a huge advocate for radical transparency.
What does that mean?
So they disclose all of their holdings twice a year.
Really?
Yes, which has earned them the title of most transparent fund in the world.
So everyone knows what they're holding.
Everyone knows.
Wow.
It's amazing. And he actually mentioned a little friendly rivalry with
Oh.
the Canadians who used to hold that top spot for transparency.
Oh.
But he joked, he's like, I'm fine with them winning at hockey, but not this.
That's funny.
I know, right?
He wants to win the transparency game.
Absolutely. He thrives on that healthy competition.
I love that.
I know.
So they're very open about what they're doing.
Very open.
Where they're putting their money.
Yes. And how they're managing those trillions of dollars.
Now, when we talk about global trends, one of the biggest ones that's affecting everyone
Yeah,
is climate change.
for sure.
So how are they looking at that?
Yeah, so Tangen actually sees climate change as a very significant financial risk.
Okay.
It can impact everything.
Yeah.
From commodity prices to harvest.
That makes sense.
Think about those soaring coffee prices.
Right.
That's actually one of the things that climate change is influencing.
Wow.
So they are adapting their strategy.
Okay.
Now, initially, they were hesitant to invest heavily in renewable infrastructure.
Why?
The returns were low, and the market seemed a little overcrowded.
Too many people trying to do the same thing.
Exactly. But things are changing.
Okay.
Returns are becoming more attractive.
Right.
There are more opportunities emerging, and they've even expanded their team to really focus on this area.
That shows commitment.
It shows they're willing to adapt and evolve with the market.
Yeah, because the world is changing every day.
Absolutely. And it's just really interesting to see how their investment strategy is being influenced by these global shifts.
So they're not just sitting back and letting things happen.
No, you're not.
They're reacting to
They're
it.
being very proactive.
Yeah.
And, Tangen has been CEO for 5 years now,
Okay.
and he highlighted some of his key focuses in the interview.
I'm curious what's on his mind.
So performance is, of course, a big one,
Sure.
but he's also very focused on learning from mistakes.
Oh, have to.
You do. And fostering a contrarian viewpoint.
Interesting.
And he's all about that long-term investment approach.
Makes sense for a fund like that.
And one thing I found really interesting is they actually have an investment simulator.
What?
It helps portfolio managers identify their weaknesses.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So it's like a program that
Yeah.
analyzes all your decisions.
All their investment decisions tells them where they tend to go wrong.
Wow.
Could highlight things like selling losers too late,
Oh, yeah, we've all done that.
right? Or maybe jumping the gun on winners.
Ah.
So it's all about using data to understand and overcome those biases.
Investing biases that we all have.
We all have.
I like that.
And, Tangen actually pointed out how difficult it can be to be a long-term investor,
Oh, I bet.
which sometimes means doing absolutely nothing.
Oh, the pressure.
The pressure to act.
Yeah, to always be doing something.
Right. But he said that's where the real magic of compounding happens.
Okay.
Just got to sit back and let it play out.
Patience.
Patience. It's so hard in our fast-paced world.
I know. Everything's got to happen now.
Right. But he said it's like finding oil twice, first in the North Sea, then in financial markets.
What a great analogy.
I know, right? So he's talking about the markets, and he had some interesting things to say about the current state of play,
Okay.
particularly with that massive concentration we're seeing in large-cap tech.
Right.
A lot of that is fueled by AI.
Yeah.
And this has actually been a major driver of the fund's recent profits.
Okay.
But he did express some concern as well.
Right. Oh, really? What is she concerned about?
He's a little bit concerned because all of these companies are linked to the same geopolitical risks,
Ah, I see.
which makes the current market particularly volatile.
So it's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
It is. And this has actually led him to this view that public markets might be riskier than private markets right now.
Now, that's an interesting thought.
Right, because the traditional view is kind of the opposite.
You think of private markets as being the Wild West
Right, exactly.
and public markets as being more stable.
A little bit more regulated. But this is an interesting take.
He's going against the grain.
He is, and it actually ties into another trend he's seeing,
Okay.
which is the decline in listed companies and the rise of private markets.
It's interesting how those two things are kind of working together.
Yeah, they are.
Like one's fueling the other.
Exactly. And currently the fund isn't allowed to invest in private markets,
Okay.
but that could change.
So they're watching.
They are. They're keeping an eye on things.
Now, there's been a lot of talk. Yeah.
About the fund and potentially achieving higher returns.
Right.
Some people think that they could be doing better.
Right.
What does he say to that?
Well, Tangen is all about playing the long game.
As you should be with a fund like that.
Right. He emphasizes consistent returns and the power of compounding over time.
Yeah. It's not about getting rich quick.
No, it's not.
It's about slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly. And he's a firm believer that the rapid trading and short-term thinking that is often encouraged in the world of finance.
Right. Everybody wants to make a quick buck.
Exactly. It can actually be very detrimental to long-term growth.
Oh, absolutely. You're not really building anything.
You're not.
You're just kind of moving money around.
Oh, right.
It's
Exactly.
a very different approach.
And it's very refreshing to hear that from someone who's managing trillions of dollars.
It is. It's nice to know that somebody out there is
Right.
thinking long term.
Absolutely. He's all about patience and conviction.
And he actually mentioned that the fund has been criticized in the past
Mm-hmm.
for missing out on some of the most significant market gains.
Oh, really?
Yes. But his response is always, we're here for the steady and consistent approach.
Long term.
Yes. He actually compared it to finding oil twice.
Oh, I love his analogies.
I know, they're so good. So first with the discovery in the North Sea,
Okay.
and then again by investing in the markets.
I see.
So it really emphasizes their philosophy of not chasing trends, but sticking to their strategy.
Yeah.
And on top of all of this,
Yeah.
he somehow finds the time to host his own leadership podcast.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Busy guy.
I'm dying to hear what he had to say about that.
Yeah.
And luckily, we are going to dive into that in the next part of this deep dive.
I can't wait. All right, so we're back, continuing our deep dive into the fascinating world of Nicolai Tangen.
Yes, the CEO of the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Trillions of dollars under management.
Yes, those trillions.
Still unpacking his conversation with David Solomon,
Right.
CEO of Goldman Sachs.
They covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
And Tangen had some interesting things to say
Oh, yeah.
about European competitiveness.
Oh, yeah, remember that?
He was a little concerned
He was.
about the level of regulation.
Yes, and how fragmented the market is.
Right.
He used a really good analogy to illustrate his point.
Oh, yeah.
So imagine you're at a bar.
Okay.
Each drink kind of tastes good on its own,
Right.
but then you combine all those drinks.
Into like one
It's like
giant,
messy concoction.
a Long Island iced tea of regulations.
Exactly.
I love that.
Individually, they might make sense,
Right.
but all together
Too much.
stifles innovation,
Right.
stifles growth.
limits risk-taking.
Yeah, he contrasted that with the U.S.,
Right.
where he sees a much greater willingness to take risks.
Embrace new ideas.
Yeah, he thinks that's been a key driver of economic success.
Do you think he has a point?
It makes you think, right?
It does.
Does the U.S. approach foster a more dynamic environment for businesses?
Interesting question.
It is something to ponder.
Yeah, definitely food for thought.
But let's shift gears a bit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about his leadership podcast.
Yes, he's interviewed so many incredible people.
Yeah, he's got like a who's who of global CEOs on there.
Bill Gates was on there.
Magnus Carlsen, the world chess champion.
Amazing.
It's called In Good Company,
Okay.
and it is a goldmine of leadership wisdom.
So what are some of the takeaways?
Well, he noticed some common traits
Okay.
in these highly successful people.
Like what?
Well, grit's a given at that level.
Right, high energy for sure.
But he also emphasized curiosity,
Okay.
empathy, strong listening skills.
Those are all essential.
For any leader.
For anyone, really.
Exactly. It resonates beyond just the corporate world.
For sure.
He also made this interesting point
Okay.
that the best leaders are both stubborn
Okay.
and adaptable.
That you do both.
Right. It's a tough balance.
It is.
But they have strong convictions.
Okay.
But they're also willing to change their minds.
When presented with new information.
Exactly. And you have to be able to do that.
Especially in today's world.
Right. Everything's changing constantly.
So you've got to be able to adapt.
Yeah. And speaking of change,
Yeah.
remember his modern Viking analogy?
Well, you love that.
For his leadership style.
Right. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, he's a big believer in constant learning
Okay.
and breaking habits.
Interesting.
He actually had this funny story about how happiness on vacation peaks at the 43rd hour.
The 43rd hour.
That's so specific.
Oh,
He says that's when you start to get habituated to your surroundings.
even paradise.
Even paradise.
Interesting.
So he's all about shaking things up,
Okay.
trying new things, staying curious.
So it's not just about going new places.
Yeah,
It's about pushing yourself outside your comfort zone.
exactly. Experiencing new things.
Right.
He's actually spending all of November living in New York City.
Just to change things up.
Just to change things up.
I like
He seems to really enjoy new challenges.
gaining new perspectives.
Yeah, and, his degrees in art history and social psychology.
Right. Those weren't just for fun.
No, they actually deeply influenced his approach
To investing.
to investing in leadership.
It's a great example of how diverse knowledge can give you an edge.
It's like thinking outside box.
Absolutely. And he's particularly interested in human behavior,
Yeah,
decision-making,
which obviously plays a huge role
in the financial markets.
and leading a large organization.
Right. People are at the heart of everything.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up this part,
Yeah.
I want to touch on one more thing.
Okay.
Tangen has a really unique perspective on success.
I think I know what you're going to say.
It really challenges the conventional definition.
Right.
He believes it's not about accumulating wealth.
But about acquiring knowledge.
Yes, instead of asking who has the most money when they die,
Right.
he asks who knows the most.
What a shift in perspective.
It's pretty profound.
It is. It's about embracing curiosity,
Continually learning.
expanding our understanding.
And he really embodies this.
He does.
Drawing knowledge from all these different fields
Applying it in really innovative ways.
to lead and to invest.
He is a true advocate for lifelong learning.
He is.
All right, we are back
For the final part,
of our deep dive.
into the mind of Nicolai Tangen,
The CEO of that massive Norwegian sovereign wealth fund.
with all those trillions.
It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
We've learned so much.
About his leadership style,
Investment strategies?
his unique perspective on success.
Absolutely.
And he had some really great advice.
Oh, yeah.
About stepping into a new leadership role,
Which is something we can all learn from.
regardless of our careers.
Right, because he took the helm of one of the world's most influential financial institutions.
Yeah, what was it like for him to step into that?
Imagine the pressure.
I know, right?
What did he say?
Well, he really emphasized building relationships right from the start.
Before officially starting.
Even before,
Oh.
he recommended talking to as many people as possible.
Within the organization.
Yeah, get a feel for the culture,
Understand the dynamics.
show respect for the people who are already there.
Right.
Gives you valuable insight
Into the challenges.
and opportunities.
He also talked about forming a strong leadership group.
Right. Got to have your team.
But he had an interesting rule.
Okay, what's that?
No outside hires for the first year.
Oh, really? Why?
He wants to build trust and continuity
Oh,
by
God.
promoting from within.
Interesting.
Shows that you value the experience of your team.
Yeah, the people who are already there.
And it avoids that corporate immune system.
That he talked about.
Yeah, that resistance to change.
Right, when somebody new comes in and tries to change everything.
Too fast.
So by focusing on internal talent,
You create that shared ownership.
and make change more effectively.
It's about evolution, not revolution.
Exactly.
Instead of dictating from on high.
Yeah. Work with the team.
Develop a shared vision.
Collaborative.
He also warned against trying to do too much too fast,
Oh, yeah.
which can be tempting.
When you're full of new ideas.
You want to come in and make a splash.
Right.
But he's learned from experience.
A gradual approach is better.
Focus on a few key initiatives.
And get those right.
It all goes back to bringing people along with you.
On the journey.
Change is easier when everyone understands the why.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up our deep dive,
Into Nicolai Tangen's world.
it's fitting to come back to
One of his most powerful messages.
his redefinition of success,
Not about wealth.
but about knowledge.
Who knows the most?
Such a profound shift in perspective.
It is.
It's about embracing curiosity,
The continually learning.
expanding our understanding of the world.
He's a great example of that.
He really is,
Drawing knowledge from all these different fields.
applying it in such innovative ways.
So as you go about your day,
Think about this.
what knowledge or skills would you prioritize?
In your own lifelong learning journey,
And how could those pursuits shape your future success?
we hope this deep dive has given you some inspiration.
And food for thought.
Thanks for joining us.
And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Deep